Hello and welcome back to What the Food, the podcast that uncovers the fascinating history of the world through the lens of food. My name is Miles Dickinson, here with Andy Cantor and Dom Gray, and welcome to Wartime Tables and Tyrants Tummies Part 3. We're looking at Mussolini versus Tojo.
First ever three-part of this, isn't it?
That's first time we've done 3.
Yeah, so we might be a bit shaky here. But yeah, part 3. Here we go. So we've waded through Winston Churchill's champagne-fueled feast, tiptoed around Adolf Hitler's neurotic nibbling. We survived Joseph Stalin's deadly dinner party roulette, and we winced through the chaos of Roosevelt's shit food at the White House.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've been a bit too kind calling it chaos. It was just shit. Bland and not at all presidential-y.
No, and it had no reason to be. He had all the ingredients there ready to make something good of it, and just decided, no, I'm just going to have scrambled eggs made by this horrible woman that everyone hates in the White House that makes proper bland food.
Boiled spaghetti with carrots, boiled carrots, cream sauce. Yeah,
cream sauce.
If you've missed any of that historical horror show, do go back and listen to part 1 and part 2. But yeah, Today, we're polishing off our series with 2 leaders who couldn't really be more different. So first, we're going to head over to sunny Italy, where Benito Mussolini, Il Duce himself, was cultivating an image of a robust peasant vitality, apparently powered by a diet that could stun a rhino.
I know he's a very bad man, but I do think coolest sort of like title nickname of the lot. Fiore, bit shit, bit boring, also a bit sullied, but Il Duce, that sounds cool. You're like, that sounds like the kind of man that you want, right? That's like, oh.
Yeah, to me it's regal. I agree with you. It's definitely up there. It's a little close to douche for me.
Il
Douche.
Yeah, Il Duce.
Bit.
Exactly.
A little bit.
What's the translation? What does it mean?
It's like the Duke, isn't it? Like the king kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Something like
the
that.
Duce is kind of like a duke, I believe.
Il Duce.
Yeah.
Il Duce. Yeah, I'd agree with you. It's a cool nickname. But yeah, we're talking weaponized garlic here. We're talking a bizarre war on pasta. This man was not a fan of pasta, as we shall see.
No way. That's not a true Italian then, is it, really? Off the bat.
Yeah, no. We'll see. He did things that modern Italians, well, even any Italian would... I don't know how they stood by. Let it happen, if I'm honest. I'm just going to put that out there. What were they doing?
Yeah. It's on them, really.
Spoiler alert, they didn't, in the end, they didn't.
Well, in the end, it fucking took them long enough. Took us landing and taking Sicily for them to pull the finger out, didn't it?
It was very Mediterranean of them. They did take the time, but when they did, they did. I won't spoil it, but they got him. They weren't happy about his pasta.
But isn't that a testament to the kind of power and, effectiveness of these horrible leaders, that they can persuade and almost brainwash an entire nation into doing something that's not even to their benefit? Example here, turn Italians themselves against pasta.
Which is wrong.
Not right,
that shows how much power he's got. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You would have thought evolution in Italy would have just not allowed this to happen.
Yeah.
Not allowed a single Italian to come out with this frame of mind, but they're out there. And Mussolini proves it. A pasta-hating Italian. So we're going to go from Il Duce we're going to journey east to the Imperial Japan. We're going to take a look at Prime Minister Hideki Tojo, which again, very cool name, very cool Japanese name, Hideki Tojo.
Fun one to say, isn't it?
Oh, it rolls off. Yeah, it rolls off. But yeah, this is where the menu, we suspect, obviously, there's not so much English writing around this period, so it's pretty difficult to research this side of things. We suspect that the menu gets considerably shorter and a hell of a lot grimmer, because there was a lot of rationing and a lot of not fun times at the dinner table in Japan during Hideki Tojo's time in charge. For him himself, he was known as Razor Tojo, which is, again, a cool nickname.
Yeah. Did you save all the coolest names for the third part, Andy?
Yeah, that's how I bucketed it. Yeah, exactly. He was called Razor because he was so efficient as a razor is. So yeah, we'll be exploring how Razor Tojo led a nation under the banner of luxury is the enemy. Expect a lot of discipline, a lot of duty, and not a lot of dessert. A great amount of dessert. So the first up, we're talking about the Italian stallion of strange suppers, the dictator of digestion, Benito Mussolini, born on the 28th of July, 1883, in Predappio, Italy. He's the son of a blacksmith, which is quite cool. Really rallied that whole man of the people, man of the peasants sort of outlook. His mother was a school teacher, and his father was a blacksmith. And part-time journalist, I think his dad was.
Okay.
Oh, that's an odd combo, isn't it?
Isn't it?
You don't often expect to have a literate blacksmith banging away. Hey, I'll jot this down. I've just heard council are thinking about putting up taxis. Put it in my column. Anyway, back to chainmail.
Back to the chainmail.
Chainmail. In 1900s, just making chainmail.
But no, you're right. That's two very working class jobs for Mussolini's parents there. You know, it grounds him in a bit of the people, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and they were certainly very poor. They lived in 2 crowded rooms on the second floor of a decrepit palazzo.
That'll do it.
The reason why mainly is because the dad spent most of his time in taverns discussing politics and most of his money on his mistress.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you slimy little bugger.
So he's doing 3 things at once there. Think about it.
I see.
Touche.
Yeah. But Mussolini himself rose out of this kind of destitute childhood, became a dictator of fascist Italy in 1922. Fascism before it was cool. This is very much the trailblazer of fascism. Hitler and his little cronies very much took notes and looked up to Mussolini. Mussolini was the first to do it. He's the Tiger Woods of fascism, I would say.
So he's kind of set the tone for this fascism then. So you're saying Hitler kind of saw what he was doing and thought, I want a bit of that. I want to do that.
Yeah. I mean, Hitler molded it in his own way. He added in the whole anti-Semitism element to it. I think fascism in Italy wasn't so anti-Semitic. I think it was more very nationalistic, very ultra nationalist.
Togetherness.
Yeah, exactly. But Mussolini himself, he loved projecting that image of a rough, earthy peasant, jutting out his chin, barrel chest, strutting around like a prized bull, despite being 5'5" and quite rotund.
Yeah.
When you zoom out, he's not that impressive.
Yeah. I mean, he does look quite an impressive figure. He's got that kind of he looks taller than he is, and he's very like just proud looking.
Yeah, exactly. He looks confident. Yeah. He's kind of got quite a stern facial figure, hasn't he?
Yeah,
looks like a serious man.
And his diet, in some ways, was kind of a key part of that kind of carefully crafted strongman shtick as well.
Okay.
He wasn't into what he considered fancy foreign muck. He's a lad from like
Brexit boy o'clock.
Exactly. Yeah. He's a lad from Clacton-on-Sea that only eats fish and chips.
Milk.
Yeah.
Fish and chips or Yorkshire puds, nothing else.
Yeah. Exactly. He was that, but mainly Italian stuff. He sneered at French cuisine in particular. He hated French cuisine.
It's all part of this brand that he's trying to build, though, isn't it? Of like Italy or nothing. You know, even down to what I put in my mouth. Italy first. I imagine he's wearing Italian-made clothing. He's eating Italian food, and he's just spouting nothing but Italian rhetoric. It's all part of the brand.
His biographer, Dennis Max Smith, notes Mussolini once proclaimed, "French cooking is good, but it is nowhere near as good as Italian."
All right. He conceded something there. He said it is all right.
Conceded a bit of something. Yeah, I think he was maybe just being polite. Yeah. So what he meant by Italian was often his own rather unique interpretation of Italian food. Mussolini liked his food simple. Very, very simple. And as we'll discover, quite pungent. Eye-wateringly pungent.
Okay.
His absolute favourite dish, according to multiple sources that I came across, including one called Dictator's Dinners, a Bad Taste Guide to Entertaining Tyrants. Great name.
Quite a mouthful, but I like it.
Yeah. But his favourite food was a simple salad, which sounds nice, doesn't it? Maybe some nice little Italian tomatoes, maybe panzanella, bit of bread in there.
Yeah, I don't know though. Does he look like his favourite dinner's a salad? I don't know.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, it is a salad in some respects. Depends on your definition of a salad, because Mussolini's favourite dish consisted of roughly chopped raw garlic.
Roughly chopped.
Roughly chopped.
So he's looking to get some chunks in there, is what I'm getting there.
Yeah.
He's hoping that the chef's been a bit lazy with the chopping. And I've just a whole clove. What a treat.
Yeah, exactly. Roughly chopped raw garlic, drenched with olive oil and fresh lemon juice. That is it.
That's it. All right. Okay.
That is
I thought you were embarking on a list of things that went into this dish.
No, simple. 3 ingredients, Holy Trinity.
And there's no
that's
leaves.
It, whole bowl of it.
There's no leaves. That's not a salad. That's like a dressing, and a fucking bad one at that.
Oh, no.
Like what? This is wrong. These
not
people
right, is
with
it?
so much power, and they just
stinky boy.
choose this absolute guff to eat.
Mm-hmm. He apparently thought it was like great for his heart. That's why he did it. A whole bowl of it every day. Great for him. But yeah, he thought it was great. His wife, she's called Rachel, but it can't be Rachel in Italian. Rachele, maybe.
Rachele.
Rachele. Could be Raquel, maybe. Rachele.
I'd never had any even close to Rachel's in any of my classes when I was in Italy. Like,
Well, anyway, Rachel, Rachele, had other thoughts. She reportedly confided to the family cook that
He used to eat a whole bowl of raw garlic. I couldn't go anywhere near him after that. At night, I'd leave him to sleep alone in our room, to take a refuge in one of the children's rooms.
So that to me tells me it's definitely at least a bulb.
yeah, I bet he fucking reeks.
Yeah.
You're driving your wife to have to sleep in your children's room because of the amount of garlic that you've eaten.
Yeah, I think that's the time that you need to reassess your eating habits, isn't it? If you're eating something that's making your wife be like, yeah, I'd rather not be in the same room as that, you probably need to be like, maybe I should stop eating that.
Yeah, and also shows how much he loves it because he's choosing that over a loving relationship with his wife, essentially.
Yeah. And like, there's no way that the whole family are eating this as well. So they're probably having like a normal dinner. It reminds me of I used to have a mate who was definitely on the spectrum. He had massive autism, and basically every Sunday his family would have a roast, and he couldn't have it. So he'd just have a restaurante pizza. So his whole family would be enjoying a nice roast, and he'd be having a restaurante pizza because he couldn't.
Wow,
he couldn't deal with it.
That's not
foods, touching other foods and things like that. So that's what it reminds me of. Maybe he just had tisms.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm just imagining the wife, retreating to the children's bedrooms to find out that dad's convinced them all to have garlic as well, and she's got absolutely no escape from it.
It's garlic prison.
She's got to go sleep in the shed. That's where he keeps the garlic. That's where the bulbs are.
Yeah, exactly. That's where they're hanging.
Grow room.
Yeah.
And probably beneficial to everybody else living near him. He generally preferred his pungent feasts at home with Rachel and her 5 kids, on their 5 kids. They weren't just hers, he was involved. And woe betide anyone that was late. He was a notorious stickler for punctuality, was El Duce.
Oh, nice.
Everybody had to be seated and poised for action by the time El Duce himself dined at the table.
Wow. So
everyone had to be there.
He's a dictator at home as well as at work.
Yep.
Can't switch it off, can you? Once you've got a taste for being a twat, can't switch it off.
That's it. But it's not a nice atmosphere, that, is it? Because you've got your whole family, you've got your 5 kids and your wife all sat at the table, in silence, I imagine, just waiting for dad to come down the stairs, and you're hearing these big thumps of a fat, garlicky, smelly man coming down. You're waiting for him. You're building a bit of, nervous anticipation for someone that should be a loving, caring figure in your life,
Yeah, that's a cool scene. That you can imagine that in like a movie, like they're all just sat around nervously waiting, and the water glasses start to shake, like in Jurassic Park. Like T-Rex is on the way. Yeah, and it just like pans around, and everyone's like in proper worried expressions.
Wife's looking at the kid like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Peel those fucking clothes. Peel those clothes. Peel.
Yeah, and he just comes in and sits down. Just grabs a garlic.
But despite his kind of garlic obsession, he wasn't necessarily a champion of all traditional Italian food, as we might imagine it. This is quite a bizarre kind of culinary crusade, because during the 1930s, Mussolini threw his weight behind a bloke called Filippo Tommaso Marinetti, who was the founder of he was quite unhinged, but the movement was quite unhinged as well, of the Italian Futurists movement. And basically they ran a campaign against pasta.
Why? They've lost me. Instantly. They're trying to rally you up, and then they're like, the first talking point, we must get rid of pasta. I'd be like, nah, see you later, lads, and just leave. Can't be
strange one. But yeah, Marinetti in his manifesto of futurist cooking declared that pasta induced lassitude, pessimism, nostalgic inactivity, and neutralism. Essentially, pasta is making Italians lazy.
Right, okay. And stuck in the past with their ideology as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, okay. I guess this is kind of like a bit of crossover with the cults episode that we did recently, isn't it?
Yep.
Where it's like, take away that thing that people, that makes people who they currently are, or who makes them think who they currently are. And then it kind of leaves a gap in their mind to be introducing new ideas to. Do you know what I mean? If we take away the pasta, we can then introduce lots of new, funky, crazy fascist ideas.
Yeah, but the pasta seems like a bridge too far for me.
But it's but it's so important to Italians. It's their kind of cultural identity. If you remove that, then they're looking for a new avenue, and then you provide that new avenue, and it's called racism, and they'll eat it up like they would a normal bloody bowl of pasta.
Carbonara, yeah. Well, Marinetti famously proclaimed that
Pasta kills the noble, virile, and warrior souls of the Italians. Spaghetti is no food for fighters.
There you go. No warriors ever ate spaghetti.
But how'd he know that?
Well, name a nation that won a war that ate spaghetti.
England spaghetti hoops, Heinz.
They weren't around when we won
God
wars.
save the Queen.
I didn't know.
I thought Merlo had weaseled me a little way out.
God save the Queen.
That was your input. To back it, mate. Yeah, that was me co-signing it. Oh, okay.
I guess it does spike up your kind of glucose, doesn't it? It makes you tired and all that.
Who knows?
You're not going to be swinging a sword around after a carbonara, as you said.
A big bowl of spaghetti. Yeah, no, you're not. No, but it is mental, isn't it? Imagine an Italian leader trying to ban spaghetti. It's like an Indian leader trying to ban cricket. Predictably, it didn't take. Italians, they kept scoffing their spaghetti fascists or no fascists. They didn't do that. But Mussolini, but for all his kind of Iron Man posturing and industrial scale garlic munching, Mussolini had quite an inconvenient secret. His stomach, much like Hitler, was a bloody wreck.
Right. So if I can't have pasta because I'll shit my pants, no one can.
So he's probably gluten free, isn't he? Maybe a bit of a celiac.
He suffered really badly from abdominal ulcers, which may have been brought on by a hefty gluten intolerance, maybe. But his own son-in-law, Count Galatzio Ciano, I think it is, noted in his diaries that Mussolini had frequent complaints about his stomach pain. According to one rather kind of blunt Nazi doctor who examined him during the war, Il Duce was dangerously constipated. Wow. Dangerously constipated.
You're trying to have this hard man image. Everybody's like, God, this guy's so just scary, intimidating. He hates people, and he's dangerously constipated.
He can't poo-poo. He can't.
For such a hard man, he can't push a shit out.
Yeah.
If I was his doctor, though, I'd start by saying maybe lay off the garlic.
Yeah.
For a bit. See if it clears up.
Yeah. Wow. Maybe a bit more roughage and a bit less aggressive allium, maybe.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. He also, just to add a bit more fuel to the fire, he also reportedly chugged up to 3 quarts of milk a day.
Again, he's well known at this point even. That shit's going to upset your tum-tum.
A quart is 3 quarts of liquid in proper measurements is 2.8 litres.
That's crazy.
So almost 3 litres of milk and multiple bulbs of garlic a day.
I bet you he was lactose intolerant as well. If he was gluten free, his tum-tum probably couldn't deal with that.
Yeah, that's not a good mix in there, isn't it? Is it? That's just not.
Garlicky milk. Ugh. This guy was like just creamy and smelly.
He was basically making like a carbonara inside his body. He was eating all the ingredients like separately. Like just cracking an egg yolk in a bit of parmesan later. A couple of cubes of ham. What have you had today? Carbonara.
Yeah, carbonara. Over 3 meals.
Should be about ready now.
Yeah.
And then he just like jumps up and down for a bit. Does some belly rolls.
Just gonna sit near the fire to warm myself up.
That's it.
But he probably did that to kind of quell the raging inferno that was going on within his guts. He probably thought that his cold bit of milk would absolutely help. But
yeah, I mean, the garlic was probably giving him like some degree of heartburn if he's eating that much. With the lemon juice as well, that's acidic.
And olive oil.
That's getting him juiced up. So he probably did need all that milk just to quell his innards.
He should have just had tomato, a bit of tomato, a bit of basil, maybe a rocket salad, a bit of bread, butter,
chicken
chill
breast.
out. Yeah, chicken breast. Yeah,
just some basically a normal meal is what you should have.
We're just explaining normal food here, aren't we? Just a balanced diet, essentially.
Wow.
So Dulce's relationship with food was kind of it was a weird mix. It was part peasant simplicity, kind of propaganda as well, part genuine but also super misguided health kick, being that, he thought the garlic would really help him with his heart. And ultimately, all of that led to a considerable source of personal discomfort. And for all of that kind of bravado that he put forward and all that bluster that he demonstrated, he was probably doubled over with gut rot for half the time. Same with Hitler. Like, he's up on the Reichstag giving a speech, he's holding in a fart the whole time.
Yeah, they're probably so angry because they're just dying for a shit the entire time. Like they're just filled with rage because they're just like, I cannot get this poo out of my ass, so we will put them in the camps. And he's just fucking getting at it, like just really wanting that shit out his ass. If only they had like nice laxatives, so it's like a good laxative.
Yeah,
missing it.
It sounds like Mussolini needed the Bosch. Do you remember the Bosch?
Yeah, he needed a fecal transplant.
That was the shit.
Sorry,
the shit sucker and push device.
Yeah, he needed that.
You know what they should have done? They should have swapped Hitler and Mussolini's poos.
Balance each other out.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
And maybe, his garlicky poo might have calmed Hitler's bowel, and Hitler's just vegan.
That's a stinky procedure, that, though, isn't it?
Oh, horrendously so. Yeah.
It's a lot of racist shit.
You need N95 for that. You can't be having normal surgical mask for that.
No. You need to be fully wrapped up, because that is like, some radioactively racial shit in that room.
But going back to what you just said, Dom, like about them, these kind of like aggressive speeches they're doing and the kind of anger that they're carrying around with them day to day. When you have a stomachache, it is kind of all encompassing, isn't it? When you have a bad stomachache, it just makes your whole body kind of feel awful. Yeah. If they are struggling with this stuff on a day to day basis, they probably will be like grouchy. They'll have had bad sleep.
Yeah,
it's all that kind of ties into it.
I mean, I've had a stomachache before, but it's never made me want to kill 6 million Jews.
Really?
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
I've been on the edge.
I'm not. Yeah,
I've come close. Honestly, I've come close. But I've just saved myself back.
I could do it, but 6 over a bit. Come on, mate.
Yeah, when you sat on the toilet in the pit of hell and you just want to die because the stomachache is so bad, you're just like, I'd fucking do it if I it with me. No, I'm not accounting it to that. Just maybe the kind of
no, I know
the way they hold themselves, on the podium.
Yeah, no, for sure. No. Just angry, constipated, poor gut health. They needed kombucha. They needed kefir and kombucha. That shit came way too late for them. That needed to have had its heyday in 30s and 40s. They'd have been fine. We wouldn't have had
too many lives were lost in order for us as humanity to realise that shit's needed.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Way too far down the line.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. We were just too stupid to understand how to put it together. Yeah. Now look at us. The world's great.
The world's great.
There's no fascism. We're all friends. It's great.
No war. No right wing. Everything's great. But you could actually make a link to Trump, because his diet probably is quite bad, so he might be suffering from these issues. He might be suffering from flatulence or constipation because of his Diet Coke based McDonald's diet.
Well, I was going to ask about Putin, but then I'm thinking we're kind of maybe edging into a new episode here that we could do in the future about modern, Putin and Zelensky, and we could touch on Trump.
I feel like I might get the KGB on my case if I start researching what Putin eats. They might think I'm trying to
exactly.
Poison it en route.
What you planning here, Andy?
Yeah, let's just wait for there to be a bit of distance before we start researching active world leaders' food, because Andy does not need that.
My last podcast episode.
Just me and Milo just turning up being like, what do you want to talk about this week, mate? Neither of us has done any research. It's been different since Andy's been taken to the gulags.
The episode after is just, I joined the call and it's just an empty chair. I'm just not here.
They're just sending a message, still connecting you to calls.
Yeah, they got him.
Hopefully not. I'd rather you didn't die.
They might just get you a nerve agent. You might still be alive, but you might just be a bit like,
oh, great. Oh, brilliant.
That'd be great.
Good.
Yeah, let's do that.
Can't walk or do anything, so I have more time for the pod. So great.
Yeah. Cheers, Putin.
yeah.
But yeah, back to El Duce. It's a potent image. He's radiating an aura of pure, kind of unadulterated garlic, trying to convince a nation of pasta lovers that their beloved Fusilier is the enemy of progress. Sheer magnificent. It's madness. It is. I don't know how he got away with it.
It's the opposite approach. I mean, I guess there's probably a lot of other leaders in the world that would say, let me double down on these stereotypical...
lean into it.
Yeah, let's get behind the fact we all love pasta and let's make us stronger together and use that as fuel to attack other countries or whatever you want to do. Whereas he's taking the opposite approach of being like, no, let's remove these things that everyone loves and use it as a way to shoot on some new crazy ideas in.
Yeah,
probably the worst thing he did, in my opinion.
I'd say, maybe not. I think Africa might have something to say about that, but...
I don't even know where that is on a map, so...
Okay, right, fair enough.
I'm joking. No, pasta's good, but freedom for Africa is better.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're tied. Right, so we're going from Italy's fragrant director. Let's pack up our smelling salts and head to the Far East, shall we? We're going to look at a leader whose diet was stark, ruthlessly disciplined, much like his military regime. We're talking about Hideki Tojo, and there definitely won't be much raw garlic, or indeed much else on this.
Do you even have garlic over there?
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah.
I'm just like, what do you get garlic in that's Japanese?
Beef yaki udon.
There you go. Beef yaki udon.
I thought he just said a made-up word and then stuck udon on the end to make it sound right. Okay, and is that a garlicky dish, Milo? Yeah.
No, I don't know. I just kind of first Japanese dish that came to mind, but I don't know. I think they use garlic in lots of sauces, don't they?
Yeah, like garlic fried rice and things like that. Japanese garlic rice, like, is something that they eat.
Gone with a safe dish there. They have garlic rice. That dish. They definitely have rice.
Yeah, and they could have garlic, so they could have garlic fried rice.
Garlic rice, yeah. Okay, cool. All right, well, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So Hideki Tojo, for many in the West, he was the bespectacled face of Japanese militarism. He was known as Kamisori Tojo, or Razor Tojo, a nickname earned for his sharp and decisive mind, bureaucratic efficiency, and almost a fanatical attention to detail.
Wow. I'm entering him as the least scary looking of the leaders that we've done, but arguably quite up there on the levels of fucked upness.
Yeah.
What does he look like?
Japanese.
Again, there's this weird sort of trend of all the baddies have tashes.
He's got his hair in a bun, chopsticks, obviously, reading manga, maybe.
Yeah.
Manga, yeah.
Godzilla's in the background.
we have not shoehorned more racial stereotypes in an episode than this.
No, but it's all right because you're allowed to say it because this guy was bad. He's a horrible man.
Yeah, that's true. Exactly.
You can be as racist as you want about him.
Yeah, he looks...
Hell.
By all accounts, he was a stern, humorless, and intensely work-obsessed man. And I feel like you get that from just by looking at him. He looks kind of like that. You don't really see him smiling.
No, he looks devoid of emotion.
Yeah, so he was born on the 30th of December, 1884.
Okay.
So kind of a similar time. I think he's a year older than Mussolini. No, year younger, than Mussolini.
Right, okay.
He was a general and a statesman, and then he became the Prime Minister of Japan in 1941 until 1944.
It's a difficult time to come into power.
It's a difficult, you're probably right. It's probably the most difficult time to come into power.
Harder than that. 1941, correct.
Yeah, born in Tokyo to a military family. He was educated at the Imperial Japanese Academy, and he began serving in the army in 1905. He served in Germany from 1919 to 1922 as a military attaché, just like a advisor, I think, like a diplomat.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So he was getting ideas, which not great.
Well, not a good place to be getting ideas, is it? At that time going on.
But he's exercising that strategic part of his mind at this point.
Yes. You could say that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about strategies to kill millions of Jews. Yeah, go for it. Good strat chat.
Yeah. He's gone from a regular soldier, to strategic thinker.
Yeah.
With interesting ideas.
Interesting ideas. Is that what you're going to call them, Milo? Is that the word that you're going to land on?
They knew how to put up camp. They'd sail through their Duke of Edinburgh award. That's what you could say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Tojo's own son, Teru Tojo, reportedly said of him,
"My father had no hobbies. Work was his hobby."
My father is a fucking loser.
yeah, basically what he's saying.
Yeah.
Work was his hobby. I mean, you could say that about a lot of people, couldn't you? That are successful.
Super driven, but he's a general in the army. So during a time where Japan is trying to grow its empire, it's trying to build an empire. Quite scary. To have someone that driven. But what did he eat? What on earth? What's he having for his din-dins? What's fueling this drive to conquer and reign over Asia and ultimately the world?
Garlic fried rice.
Boom.
His mindset doesn't feel very Japanese though. Because obviously Japan being an island and they're quite secluded, and obviously even to this day they're probably one of the countries that has kept up with most of its traditions and not been influenced by the rest of the world. So it's like now we've got a leader that's in control of Japan that wants to dominate the rest of the world. That kind of goes against that idea that a lot of us have of Japanese in our minds, of them being quite secluded and being like, no, we're quite happy to be left alone. Please stay the fuck away. We'll enjoy our culture.
Yeah, it's a change in outlook of being a bit more, rather than isolationist, being a bit more expansionist. Yeah,
I think that one of the main reasons for Japan wanting to grow their empire was like economic pressure.
Yeah,
I feel like there was a strong, obviously Japan being an island and most of that island either being coastline or mountainous. They don't really have that much natural resources for themselves. So they had to look overseas for those natural resources, and there was this growth of nationalism and the idea that we are superior to other Asian races, so therefore they should give us their resources, which they were just like China, and everyone was like, no, it's ours. So they were quite military focused as well, Japan. So they just thought, well, fuck it, we'll just take it by force. We're better than you. And it also helped that the rest of Asia was quite in a fucked up place at the time. I think China had just had a revolution. They just had some kind of war where the South and North were attacking one another, whatever. So it was kind of ripe for the picking.
It was all there.
Perfect storm for Tojo.
Yeah, exactly. And they also had a big war with Russia, the Russo-Japanese War, in which the Japanese absolutely decimated the Russians. So they were quite high on their own supply, high on their own source. Wow. So they believed that they were super powerful and they could take on anyone.
They've had quite a few generations/centuries of cooking up to this, haven't they? With all been like, samurai and like a militaristic sort of culture. And then also like the reason why they think that they're way better than any other Asians is going back to things like the Mongols trying to invade, and then they like believe that they were blessed, but really it was just a bunch of cyclones hitting at just the right time to get rid of a bunch of boats. But if that happens enough times and everybody else is getting absolutely battered by the Mongols, and you're like, nah, look, they can't get us over here, you end up thinking that you're the best and you're ready to cook, and the rest is history, as they say.
Very interesting.
Well, back to our mate Tojo. That's a Razor himself. If you're hoping for kind of specific juicy anecdotes about his favourite brand of soy sauce or the precise kind of temperature in which he preferred his sake, you're going to be a bit disappointed. Stuff's quite thin on the ground here. Unlike our kind of Western leaders who often had a retinue of staff practically live tweeting and journaling every bowel movement, every meal, everything essentially for posterity, Tojo is not the same. Japanese culture is not the same. They do not have, I think we discussed it in the Shinrikyo Cult Part 2 episode, media and kind of journalism isn't the same in Japan. They just don't have that kind of motivation to follow people like that.
It's not like tit for tat. It's not kind of like bitching about each other and spreading shit, airing your dirty laundry, is it? It's kind of...
No, quite secluded.
That's not in the media, is it?
No. So yeah, Tojo's kind of personal culinary preferences remain quite opaque, unfortunately. He wasn't one of these public leaders that loved, banquet. He wasn't one to kind of flaunt his personal taste and things like that. Japanese culture at the time, especially for a military leader, was all about stoicism and being reserved.
Right. Get rid of the distractions. We don't need anything extra. Just focus on the job at hand. Let's streamline this process and get it done.
Exactly. But we can take some kind of educated guesses, piecing kind of some things together from what we know about traditional Japanese cuisine, Tojo's own public image of like an iron discipline, and also the absolutely brutal wartime conditions in Japan at the time. It's a pretty grim wartime diet in Japan for the general populace. The government, which Tojo headed from, like we said, late 1941, relentlessly pushed slogans like luxury is the enemy, essentially putting shame on people that have an abundance or have too much or have something that others don't.
It's difficult that though, isn't it? Because I feel like a successful society relies on people believing that they can work hard and achieve luxury in the future. That's kind of what gets a lot of people out of bed in the morning, is that strive for success and for luxury. And if there isn't any of that, it's interesting to think about the mindset of the people, like what's motivating them at that point if luxury is completely condemned.
I think just blind nationalistic devotion. And as well, you've got to remember at this time, Japan is still rocking out with an emperor. So they imagine that they're kind of defending their like godlike leader sort of thing. So
celestial being.
Yeah, that's kind of feeding their fervour. That's keeping their bellies full when they can't get the garlic fried rice.
Exactly. Plus also they, I mentioned it before, but they've been so isolated for much of their existence that kind of these ideals from other countries haven't really settled down and taken root within Japan itself. So they're very much like, Japan is life, national fever, like you said, and the emperor is our god, so we must protect him at all costs. So we will do whatever it takes, even if it means suffering and going through some horrendous times.
Yeah, very different mindset.
Yeah. Extreme austerity was the order of the day. Rice, obviously, was the absolute kind of staple during this time.
Why obviously, Andy? Why obviously what?
Well, they're not growing wheat, are they?
I'm just standing up for everyone else, listeners, because trying to temper down this unchecked racism from Andrew.
Okay.
So they were having rice.
Yeah, but it was heavily rationed rice.
Great. My favourite.
The yummiest kind.
And these ordinary folk were also often encouraged is the wrong word, forced to kind of eat things like sweet potatoes, squash, soybeans, acorns, sawdust, and grass.
Wow. Okay.
Acorns? What are these? Fucking squirrels or something? What's going on here?
Yeah, it started off okay. It started off kind of like California diet, Pilates, mummies, sweet potatoes, squash, and it just descended soybeans, acorns, sawdust, grass.
It's not great.
That's no good.
No, it's not. The Hinomaru bento, or the Rising Sun lunchbox became a potent symbol of patriotic sacrifice during this time. Sounds great, doesn't it? Sounds nice. Sounds lovely. Rising Sun lunchbox.
Sounds like you get a little blue ribbon in there and a Nutella sandwich.
Yeah, little bento boxes.
Yeah.
those are nice, aren't they? It's got a similar word.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you were to be lucky enough to have one of these, you would open it up and find a meager portion of plain boiled rice with a single bright red umboshi, which is a pickled plum, slapped in the center to resemble the Japanese flag.
That's pretty cool. Okay, that's the coolest bit of scran so far, in my opinion. Again, visual as well as taste.
The pickled plum is the middle red bit.
But that's it, lads. Like a bit of rice and a plum. That's what you get.
That's it. Getting onto the other compartments of the box. I'm picturing.
No.
None of those Pringles and one of those cool things that stops them from getting smashed.
No, fucking saurine on the side. No, none of that.
What? No apple in a little plastic bag that your mum's cut up for you because you don't like biting it. It's your little teeth. No,
none of it. Just a pickled plum.
Is that what you
white
had
rice.
Well, what's the point? Yeah, skin off, mate. Don't like the roughage.
Oh my God. Jane was doing that for you.
No, I don't think that she was. I can't remember. She did a lot then.
Okay, so that's all you get for your lunch. That's your Rising Sun nationalist lunch.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
If you're lucky. As one Japanese civilian, Tama Yasuko, recalled of the period.
We were always hungry. Thinking back on it, I wonder how we survived.
Wow.
It's tough. Tough times. But what about Tojo himself? Given his kind of public persona and the national crisis, it is highly unlikely that he was tucking into lavish, multi-course banquets while his people were boiling acorns. Is that how you eat an acorn? You boil it? Is that how you do that?
I've never eaten one, to be honest. He's not doing a Winston and just absolutely scranning while everybody else is struggling. No, he's actually got some decorum.
Exactly. Yeah. That wouldn't fit his carefully kind of cultivated image of the disciplined, frugal, self-sacrificing leader.
Yeah.
To be fair, he might have been doing it because you said that nobody was reporting it. So maybe he was doing it and everybody was like, that'd be a bit embarrassing if we report. Let's have some honour.
Yeah, but he's pushing something that he believes, though, isn't it? It's like, it's something that he believes in, so he's not going to go against that, I don't think.
Yeah, and also they don't have champagne and cigars in Japan.
That'll do you in. Yeah,
that'll do you in. No, his diet was almost certainly based on like traditional, simple Japanese fare. Rice. Is that racist? Is that you going to call me out again?
You good.
No.
Rice. Probably
cross that bridge already.
Yeah. It was probably better quality rice than what the peasants in the fields and the workers out in the cities were eating, but probably not massively better. Miso soup, some pickled vegetables, maybe perhaps some fish or seafood when available, but obviously became scarce quite quickly. So probably we're just sticking to the rice and the veggies, just like everybody else.
Right, okay. It's not really inspiring, is it?
No, it's not great. Kind of standard Japanese army field rations, which were obviously designed for men in combat, consisted mainly of the same things as well. You'd have rice mixed with barley, some canned kind of meat or fish, and maybe some preserved vegetables. So it's kind of reasonable for us to assume that Tojo's eating the same thing, really.
No boba, no popping candy boba, or...
No popping candy boba, no
taro milk tea,
no taro milk tea, no
iced matcha vanilla latte.
Any fun flavoured Kit Kats?
No green tea Kit Kats, no lemon, no hazelnut Kit Kats. He wasn't eating those cool little fish cakes that you've seen.
What is even the fucking point?
Yeah, well, it's all about national character and it's a complete rejection of Western style indulgence. We don't do that shit in the house, in the land of the rising sun. We don't do that.
We don't do like soy sauce flavoured Kit Kats here either. So he could have been doing that. That's not a Western
soy sauce flavoured Kit Kat.
I bet you they do it.
It's just a salty Kit Kat.
A salty Kit Kat, but I bet you they do it. They love.
Is it chocolate, or it's instead of chocolate? Is it the outside is just pure soy sauce?
Just hardened soy sauce. Wow,
with a layer of fish sauce caramel in the middle.
Oh my!
Now we're talking.
No, we're not talking. But I mean, Japanese culture is about being at one with nature. It's really understanding the weather, the nature around you. It's eating cleaner, isn't it? That's all part of Japanese culture, and I think he's taking that and pushing it as far as it can kind of go, isn't he? It seems.
Yeah. There is quite grim context here as well. So it's estimated that out of approximately 2.3 million Japanese military deaths during the war, 1.4 million, over 60% of people died due to starvation or malnutrition related diseases.
Oh, dear.
And these are particularly on the Pacific Islands where supply lines just collapsed pretty much. As soon as Pearl Harbor started, basically. Finished.
That's awful.
Not great. So yeah, I mean, Tojo's relationship with food, therefore, was kind of less about personal pleasure and more deeply intertwined with his sense of duty and his rigid kind of interpretation of national identity. I did manage to find a 1942 speech where Tojo declared,
"It is necessary for the people to be content with a life of plain living and high thinking, and to engage in their respective businesses with a fresh and vigorous spirit."
Wow.
I think no one's going to have a fresh and vigorous spirit if they die from malnutrition.
Yes, you would be correct.
So it all sounds good on paper, Tojo, but it's not reality, is it?
It's not reality, no. But he's setting up this hardship, right? He's setting an example of simplicity and trying to ensure that people maintain that iron discipline, even as Japan's hurtling towards disaster and the shadow of, what was it called? Fat Man.
Oh, God, yeah. Hiroshima.
Yeah, the first one.
Yep, first one, yeah. I've actually been to Hiroshima. It's class now. Well, nice.
Is it?
Yeah, it doesn't, and I'm fine.
Got blank slate, didn't they?
But it was nice, was it?
Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah, so they'd kept some of the buildings that were destroyed or semi-destroyed. But as Dom said, most of it was kind of just absolutely leveled, and they had to just start the city again, which meant that a lot of it is kind of modern, clean, perfectly designed city, because they started on a blank slate.
So what you're saying is basically the Americans did them a favour?
Yeah, what I'm saying is we need more atomic bombs landing on big cities so that we can improve them later down the line. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Blackpool could do with it.
Blackpool could do with it. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a bit different this one. It's less about flamboyant taste and more about grim necessity.
I mean, a poser.
Nisi wasn't a poser. I mean, what do you guys think of Tojo, especially when you compare him to the likes of Churchill, even Adolf in some ways?
Yeah. No, I think he's he's committed to it, but I'm not going to go so far as to say he was a good man or anything, because, Nanjing's calling.
Yeah.
He's allowed all these people to starve, hasn't he? He's not done it in terms of he's not done it off his own back. He's more done it out of necessity, and the fact that he felt that they could only defend Japan and the emperor by doing the actions that they did, which meant having to sacrifice supply lines and food to these various places. He didn't do it in he wasn't like, oh, fuck them, we'll just cut them off. No.
It was more like things were not going well. But
he's only got himself to blame for that. He did go to Pearl Harbor and poke the proverbial bear, didn't he?
Yeah, they didn't need to do that, did they?
Did the old walkover, absolutely twat the wasp nest, and then walk away and be like, why am I getting stung? This wasn't happening before. It's you've pissed off a big lad over there. So.
Definitely. But it does, we've been through them all now, and it really shows how different cultures and leaders approach something as basic as food, and how it all builds up to their public images and their the decisions that they made in a way. It all relates back. Food's very important. You need it.
Very important.
You need it.
Yeah, it sustains us all. If you control it, you control the people.
Exactly. So there you go, boys. The Diet Titans of Tyrants of World War II. It's been a bit of a journey. We've been through some pretty ridiculous things, some deeply disturbing things. And then, what I think the conclusion is that no matter how powerful, how influential, how utterly terrifying some of these blokes were, they were still human.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they all had weird anxieties, preferences for scran, and bodily functions that didn't always work correctly.
No, they're just people at the end of the day, aren't they? They've got themselves into positions of power, but if you've got a dodgy tummy, you've got a dodgy tummy.
Yeah. Exactly. You gotta go.
And that's what we want you to take away from this 3-part series, is that if you need to have a shit,
just do it.
It's probably because you've had 10 cloves of garlic and 3 gallons of milk.
Exactly.
All right.
Start by halving the amount of garlic, 5 cloves, 5 bulbs, 1.5 litres of milk, and see how you go.
If you want to just boil it down, do a shit, not a Holocaust.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Boom. I mean, it's been very interesting because every leader, even Churchill, they've all got this kind of national pride that's driving a lot of their actions. And it's interesting to see how that national pride manifests in their political and personal decisions, but then also through the decisions of the food as well, whether that's just personally what they're eating or whether it's what they're kind of telling their nation that they can and cannot eat as well. It's fascinating. A good example of this podcast really, and looking at history through the lens of food. We learned a lot about these people and what was happening in the world at this point through exactly what they were eating or what they were telling their people they can and can't eat.
Definitely.
Very interesting stuff.
And there you go.
There we are. Wartime Tables and Tyrants Tummies, part 3. Boom. Thank you for being here at the end of the final part of this episode. We hope you've enjoyed the journey. We thank you for being here. We appreciate you listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed the series or if you enjoyed the pod, please share it with a friend. I think that's the best way that podcasts can grow. So share it with someone that you think will enjoy the show, and that'll be much appreciated. You can email in if you'd like to suggest a topic or just say hello. You can email us at whatthefoodpodcast@gmail.com. Come and say hello and follow us and subscribe to us wherever you listen to the podcast, whether that's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Make sure you hit subscribe so you get notified when we release new episodes. We're releasing on a weekly schedule now, every Tuesday. So make sure that you hit that button so that you get notified. And lastly, follow us on socials. We're posting little clips of the show and some bonus content. So you can get us on TikTok, Instagram, and on YouTube as well. So follow us over there and come and say hello.
Hello.
But I think that's it. We'll love you and leave you, and we'll see you next week for our next episode. Thank you so much. See you soon.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye.